Just as I was about to start this session, there was a power cut. So sorry, my picture is a bit blurry. It would change in a bit when power comes back on in a few minutes. Welcome to this live broadcast. It's Thursday and it's 1 p.m. that time where we come here and talk about parenting issues. My name is Maribel Chima. I am the convener of the Parenting Through Mentorship Academy and community on Facebook and YouTube. You can also find us on Instagram. If you're here with me, if you're watching me, please let me know where you're watching me from, because I am streaming live from the capital city of Nigeria, Abuja. Welcome to this live broadcast. All right, so today we said we want to talk about how we can help, how we can support our children after a poor performance in school. Okay, so our focus today is going to be more on school, right? But we know that our children can also perform poorly in other places. All right, so before we continue, I would like to say, if you know someone that needs to be here, if you're here right now, and you know someone that needs to be here, your friend, why don't you take a minute and tag them or invite them to be here with us right now? I am going to do the same. All right, so I'm just going to check in the group and let everyone know that we are live and that they can join us. You know, sometimes you don't just you don't get the notification, right? If you have not clicked on that notification, we could go live and you don't know that we've gone live. So if you would like to know when we go live, I think you should do something about I think you should do something about your notification so that you get notified when we are live. So yes. If you are here and you know someone who needs to be here, let them know that we are live and they can join us live on this broadcast. I want to just send a message in the group that we are live. All right, so welcome. So as I said, we're talking about, let me send a message in the group. We are live, refresh and join us. Okay, so we are live. Refresh and join us. Refresh and join us. Refresh and join us. Okay, so beautiful. If you know someone who needs to be here, as I said before, let them know that we are live and they can join us. Tag a friend. Don't just come and gain knowledge alone. Also tag a friend so that your friend can be here with us. All right, beautiful. I'm sure you've heard by now over and over again. Good. I have just got power back. All right, good. So I'm sure you've heard before that failure is an ingredient for success. I'm sure you've heard these things before, right? There's a lot of motivational talk around. There's a lot of, at different points, whether the points you were in school or as a student, even as a worker today, or even as an employer, you probably have used that phrase, or you probably have said it to someone or have heard it at some point, that failure is good for success. Failure is an ingredient or prerequisite for success, right? We hear a lot of these things, but when it actually comes to reality, when it comes to our door, when it becomes our reality, then we forget the motivational talk, isn't it? We must forget that motivation that says, oh, failure is required for you to be successful. As soon as it becomes a challenge for us, as soon as it comes to our situation, when it's our children, when our children are the ones failing, when it's someone that is close to us other than ourselves failing, we tend to forget that phrase or that motivation or inspiration or whatever, or however you've heard it, that failure is an ingredient for success. But the truth about it is a reality. It is true, okay, that failure is actually an ingredient for success. So yes, if you have not been practicing it, you have only been saying that failure is an ingredient, or failure is a prerequisite, or failure is required for success, then let today be that day where you begin to implement it, or you begin to apply it in your relationship with your children and your relationship with other people. Okay, so yes, it is another, I mean, this is another fact, that a person who has failed is likely, or is most certainly, going to understand and appreciate success more than a person who hasn't failed. Okay, a person who has failed will appreciate success better than a person who has not known failure, or a person who has not gone through failure. So, what are we saying? It is important that we help our children know, and we help our children understand failure as a good thing. Because most often what we do is we make them afraid of failure. So when you threaten children, when you are constantly giving them the picture of what happens, you're constantly giving them the picture of people who failed and how they turned out horrible because they failed. When you're constantly showing them, I mean, some of us go as far as we see people who are less privileged, or we see people who are less opportuned in our society or around, and we point that to our children as, what happens to you when you are not successful. In our good intention, I had a post earlier today, and I said that every parent has a good intention towards their child. That's the truth. Every parent, no matter how horrible or how mean that parent can be, okay, except in extreme cases where the parent is probably has mental issues or something like that, okay. Extreme cases, as I said, every parent has good intentions, but these good intentions are not enough if we don't know how to go about making our good intentions effective. So sometimes, in the bid to put success before our children, in the bid to help our children understand the need for hard work, we tend to put them in a space where they become afraid of failure. We tend to put them in a space where they begin to resent failure totally. And that is because even we as parents are afraid of failure. Even we as parents are afraid of mistakes. And now that is the reason, because we are so afraid of failure and are so afraid of mistakes. It's the reason why at every point we are directly or indirectly saving our children. And that saving our children is one of the biggest disservice that we do to them without knowing it. So saving your children from every situation and everything that could be failure, or anything that could be a mistake, or anything that could, rub off on them negatively, or rub off on them in a painful way, is what a lot of us end up doing as parents. And that thing comes from the fact, or from the place of fear, because we are afraid of failure. We understand what it means to be down at some point, right? That's what a lot of us, hey Becky, it's good to have you. So a lot of us will say we understand what it means to be down. We understand what it means to rise from the bottom. We understand what it means to have been in a disadvantaged position. So because of this, we practically save and spare our children everything that looks like pain, or everything that looks like failure, or everything that could be an outcome or a result or resultant for their failure or their mistakes. But unknown to us, with this good intention, even with this good intention, what we're doing is we're doing a disservice to our children. So hard as it is to believe, failure, mistakes, poor performance are all good ingredients for success. Okay, they're all good ingredients for success. And I said, trust me, as I said before, a person who has failed and has overcome that failure, or has come up from that failure, a person that has risen from a failure, of course, will build stamina. A person that has risen from failure, of course, that person will build resilience. A person that has risen from failure, that person will understand what it means to be proficient. Because through failure, we're able to build all of these skills: proficiency, resilience, right? Understanding, and then patience. Okay. So, yes, every time you try to save your children from mistakes, every time you try to protect and shield your children from trying certain things because you're afraid of them failing, right? You are actually doing them a disservice. So write this down. Every time you save your child from a mistake, you're doing that child a disservice. Every time you overprotect your child, you're doing the child a disservice. So training and practice are actually the best way to observe failure. Let me repeat that. Training and practice is the best way to actually observe failure. And now that is another challenge. A lot of us as parents do not have the time to stay and train. Okay? That you have children, that you have your children in your home. You have food and clothes and TV, and you pay school fees and all of that. Just not to mean that you are training that child. Okay, I like the illustration that ZOB used in her book Train Up. Okay, she said in training as a parent, when you are training, okay, see yourself as the person. I mean, look at it as you are actually, in a train. The train with the many coaches, isn't it? So look at it that you as a parent are the one in that first coach. So you are the, what do they call them? The captain or the conductor or whatever it is of that train, isn't it? Now, when you sit and you take the wheel or the steering in that train, wherever you steer that train to, okay, whatever direction you steer that train to, as the person and the first coach, that is the direction that every other coach to the very last coach is going to take. So yes, if you understand this illustration as a parent, you understand that when you sit in front, however you steer the train is where the second coach, the third coach, up to the last coach is going to turn. Then you understand the role that you sit in. You understand the enormosity, all right? You just understand the gravity of the role that you play as a parent in the lives of your children. So yes, mistakes and failure and all of that are deeply embedded, and they can be recognized in training and practice. So if you take your time as a parent to train your children through everything that you want to see in their lives. So for instance, you have, I mean, as a parent, you should at this point have been able to create a picture in your head of where your journey with your children is going to. You are raising them to be adults. You're not raising them to remain children forever. So what adults are you raising your children to be? That's a picture that you're creating in your head, isn't it? So if you're able to create that picture in your head, so it simply means that you're able to come back and look for how you're going to steer that train, okay, from the point where you are till that point of adulthood where it is that your destination is at. So if you are a parent who is intentional, the first thing that you would do is to create a picture of who you are raising your child to become. Create a picture of the adults that you want to see. Then step on that first coach in that train and begin to steer that train towards the destination of that adult that you are raising. If you are able to do that, then you will be able to find the mistakes. You will be able to find failure and mistakes and find all of these things, because while you are in training, you will see the gaps in their training. You will see the skills that they are not mastering. You will see the places where they are struggling. You will see the things that they don't understand. And then what happens? You are able to come back, make adjustments, train. You're able to teach, right? You're able to come back, teach, isn't it? You're able to get them through the process of practice. You're able to get the children practicing. As they practice, they will become better. As they practice, they will gain mastery. As they practice, they will gain clarity. As they practice, they will gain confidence. As they practice, they will gain understanding. As they practice, they will begin to lose all that fear. And so when you get your children to the point where they are not afraid, practice is what makes them not afraid. Practice is what makes them understand that, hey, you can actually vie away from your purpose. You can actually vie away from your focus. You can actually vie away from the target. But hey, if you're able to navigate and come back, you can still hit that target. It is only when a child has tried, he has failed, he has gone that way. I mean, he has gone through that process of coming back, trying again, navigating again, and then he finds himself back on track and he still hits his target. That's the only time that the child begins to gain that confidence, or that confidence that comes with knowing that, oh, you could make a mistake, but you can still hit your target. All you need to do is be able to come back or get back on track. Now, if your child is not failing, if your child is not making mistakes, if your child is not trying, how is he going to get the opportunity to go through this process that helps him navigate through his mistake, come back on track, and hit his target? So yes, failure is an ingredient for success. Mistakes are ingredients for success. Poor performance, by all means, are ingredients for success. Very, very important, and we need to note that as parents. Okay? Now, as parents, as schools, right? As people who work with children, parents, schools, and all that, it is actually one of the things we should be doing is creating systems and opportunities where children meet with obstacles, where they meet with challenges that can actually threaten their success. Okay? Does that make sense? It's actually our responsibility to create opportunities for our children, opportunities that could lead our children, that could pose, a threat to our children being successful, if that makes sense. You are supposed to create opportunities that will challenge your child, that the outcome could be success or failure. And that's just fine, right? That is just fine. If we're able to create structures, or we're able to create, structures that put opportunities for our children, right, to meet challenges that could lead to failure, okay, so that they can practice, okay, and they can build muscles through failure, then you will be doing a good thing for that child. Now, let me tell you what exams is really. Okay, the whole essence of examinations, is to create this system that I'm talking about, is to create this structure that I'm talking about, structures that will support our children and help them understand failure. That's what exam is. The thing is, there is no connection, right? Over the years, we've lost connection between the people who structured education, okay? Between the motive, the vision behind education, and the people who are championing education today. Okay, does that make sense? The vision of the founders creators or the people who created the first education policies, the people who created the first education system, okay, the people who put together education system from the very beginning, the vision that they had, the purpose that they had for education, the principles that they had behind education has been lost over the years. It's been watered down over the years, so much so that those who are championing education today, meaning the schools and people who run education centers, it's so bad that a lot of these schools, a lot of us as parents, a lot of the people who are championing education today, the policy makers are not in congruence. They're not in connection with the vision behind education from the beginning. That is why we have a lot of the mess that we have today. Because really, the sense behind education really is that opportunity for our children to meet circumstances, for children to meet, things, obstacles, challenges that could lead to failure is provided. Because for people to be successful, they should go through systems that threaten or systems that challenge them. Okay, and the outcome of that challenge could be a success or failure, and either one is just fine. Either one is just fine. So education, the exam really, statutory examinations and all of that, or the STEM examinations that your children have, these are meant to be feedback. These are meant to be obstacles thrown their way. These are meant to be challenges thrown their way, okay, to help them become successful. So two things will happen. They will either be successful the first time, or they will make mistakes or fail, or perform poorly, okay, in the first instance. And what does that do? It gives feedback to the caregivers. It gives feedback to you as a parent. It gives feedback to the teachers. And that feedback does not necessarily have to indict the child every time. The feedback could be indicting the parent or indicting the teacher if we are being realistic. It could just simply mean that you do not know how this child learns best. It could just simply mean that you carried the children along, but you left 1, 2, 3, 10 of them behind. Because if you were able to carry all of them along, you should be able to get results across board based on each of their ability. So as a parent or as a teacher, you should be able to look at a child's performance and say, oh, at this child's level or at this child's ability, okay, at the level of this child's ability, at the level of the resources available to this child, at the level of this child's learning style, this is what is expected. And so you're able to look back and say, what went wrong? So is it that I did not meet this child at the point of the child's need, meaning I did not step this knowledge down to this child in a way that this child understands? Could it be that could it be that my method of teaching does not work? Could it be that I have not even paid attention to how this child learns? Could it be that I did not give this child enough attention? Could it be that this child probably has a learning disability that I have not bothered to look into? So if you continue to threaten children or continue to judge children and continue to treat children based on the outcome of their report from school without looking into that report and seeing how you can support the child, then you are doing the child a disservice. You are not allowing failure, mistakes to be what it was meant to be, and you are not actually in line with the vision of those who formed this education system. Okay, you're not aligning with their vision, because the vision is to create chances for children to actually perform and meet obstacles that they can learn to overcome. So what is exam supposed to be? Or at the end of a term, when your child comes back with their report from school, what is it supposed to mean to you as a parent? This is what it's supposed to mean to you as a parent. It's supposed to mean that, one, that child has just shown you how much learning happened for the child that term. So looking at their report, you can say, oh, my child learned or my child did not learn. Okay? And that your child learned or did not learn, I promise you, is not solely the responsibility of the child. You engaged somebody to teach, you engaged someone to make learning happen. You paid someone, it was a contract between you and an establishment or an institution to step down learning. So if your child is not learning, you should be asking the institution, why is my child not learning? What can we do to make my child learn? How are we supporting this child? How can we support this child better? What are we missing? What is the child missing? So that's one of the things that feedback should tell you. Two, that feedback should tell you, as a parent, perhaps I'm not supporting this child enough. As a parent, perhaps I don't even know how to support this child enough. As a parent, maybe I'm not even reinforcing enough what the child is learning in school. As a parent, maybe I have not made this child's learning my priority. So that brings you to looking at, oh, how many times did I even bother to find out how he's doing in school? How many times did I bother to look at how he attends to his what do you call it, his homework and all of that? How many times did I even bother to find out if the lesson teacher is actually, connecting, if the child is actually connecting with the lesson teacher or whoever is supporting the child? How many times was I in school to find out how my child is progressing? So sometimes these reports are not just for you to castigate the child. These reports are not just for you to judge the child. Sometimes it's for you to evaluate your system and evaluate your parenting. Okay, for you to also ask questions of the people that you are in contract with to help your child become an active learner, basically. Okay, number three, the third thing you want to look at is, could there be something that is inhibiting this child from learning at an optimal level? Okay, so you want to have that conversation with your child. You want to find out with your child what's going on. You want to find out what challenges your child has. You want to find out all of these things because, hey, it is important to you that you understand why your child is not doing well. And then you want to eliminate the fact that there could be something that your child is struggling with that you don't know. So sometimes you want to do the eye check. Is it seeing well? Sometimes you want to be sure that there's no learning disability pending on how consistently, on how bad the performance is, right? And how consistent that the poor or low performance has been. Okay, so sometimes you want to check that. You might be able to find that. So it could be the school, right? It could be the people supporting the child in school. It could be you supporting the child at home. It could be the child having challenges that you have not calmed down to help the child identify, or you have not identified yourself. Okay, we've had cases of parents who didn't know that their children had certain learning disabilities. People that didn't know that their child had certain developmental disabilities until the children became 8 and 9, sometimes 10, before they found out that these children had this. Yes, Becky, supporting my child is my sole responsibility. It is our responsibility as parents. Okay, so sometimes we don't do this, and that's why you continue to, judge the child, threaten the child, call the child names, stereotype the child. This one is Olodo, this one is this. You do that for a long time until the child is 10. Before you actually find out that the child was actually dyslexia, you find that the child is on the spectrum, you find out that the child has certain disabilities. Meanwhile, all of this, yes, imagine all the damage and all the stress that you have put that child through just because you did not understand or did not bother to stop to understand. You were just being judged every turn. So yes, this is what exam is supposed to be. It's supposed to pose an obstacle, or it's supposed to, not obstacle. Why am I using obstacle? Right? It's actually supposed to pose a challenge, right? That will help our children, right, learn to fail, learn to make mistakes, or learn to correct their failures and their mistake, and learn to bounce back from those failure and mistakes. Or it just helps us understand that, okay, this child is learning at an optimal level. So if you are not looking at it this way, you are going to be shortchanging your child. Another problem why we have all this misunderstanding is because we choose to go with the narrative that everybody and every institution poses before us. As I said earlier, the vision behind education, the vision that the founders, the people who put this whole education structure together, the vision that they had has been watered down or lost in many cases over the years. So yes, the reason behind education, the principle behind education is not what a lot of people at the forefront of education are actually implementing today. So because as parents, we choose to go with the narrative of anybody and everybody, and we refuse to create our own narrative, or refuse to work with principles, we will continue to go with every school, every lesson teacher, every Tom, Dick, and Harry that has something to say, simply because they can take a marker or they can take a pen and put it on board, and you have refused to calm yourself down and support your child. So yes, when you go and you drop your child in a center, when you go and drop your child in a school, please do your due diligence and know the people that you're talking with, so that you don't end up judging your child and dealing with your child from based on the narrative of someone that doesn't even know, right? Or someone that doesn't even have it together. Based on that narrative. That's the reason you will go to school and a parent actually sends to me a comment from a teacher that says, oh, the child is very intelligent, but he tends to be lazy. Who uses that? Now you sit down and you take the narrative of this kind of person. You take the narrative of this kind of person. People who send you reports that your 3-year-old is supposed to be intelligent, but his problem is he doesn't like to write. 3-year-old, what business does he have writing? Now, this person comes and tells you what your child should be. Who told you you cannot read about education system? Who told you you cannot read about education approaches? Who told you you can't find out the Montessori approach to education? Who told you you can find out all the many approaches to education, and you cannot on your own decide which one you want to be your narrative for educating your child? Such that when you meet some of these people that are confused, when they finish talking, you smile and tell them it's not that hard. We're going to be just fine. Until you get to the point where you know where to smile and say, it can't be that hard. We're going to be fine. People are going to keep dishing their narrative, and you're going to continue to use that narrative to stress your children about and then avoid the real learning. You will be there trying to get your children to act drama all around writing. You'll be there focused on grades. You'll be there focused on their handwriting with handwriting without knowing that your child does not understand anything and that your child does not even enjoy or love to learn. All your one teacher is concerned about is how beautiful their handwriting looks, because 40 years ago that she went to school, all that was important was how well you write cursive. So because this is her mindset and this is her narrative of education. Hi, Adeumi, welcome. All right, because this is what her narrative is, and this is what she understands about education. She pushes this narrative at you, and then you go home and you'll be stressing your 3-year-old, stressing your 4-year-old every day, stress, handwriting. And so you spend 2 hours struggling to get the child to write. And then you leave all that time that you could have used to get the child to use rich language, to get the child to understand principles, to get the child to understand concepts, to get the child to understand, time that you should use to get the child to learn in context. What is learning in school? You're able to bring it to reality and create experiences and practical examples, so that your child is able to understand the learning in school in context. You are there struggling with writing ABC to Z with your 3-year-old, or you are there struggling to write 1 to 200 with your 3 or 4-year-old. The focus is not what the founders intended. And there are a lot of people in front, a lot of people who call themselves educators who do not understand this. So how do we exempt ourselves from this kind of, from this mess, basically? All right. So as I said, training and practice is where you will find the failure and mistakes. It's what will put failure and mistakes before you. So as a parent, you should be at the forefront of helping your children, or you should know what is going on with your children. So yes, exams, they're back. They've come with their exam scripts. They've come with all that, the reports from school. Okay, I'm going to take you through 5 things that you should do, or 5 things that you should be doing right now with your child that has come back home with poor performance, for you to position them to do better in school as they return to school in the next term. Okay, number 1 of them is, this one doesn't even have to do with just today and what performance your child has to do. This is the one you have to go back and deal with on your own first. Okay, so that you can begin to put out the right narrative and project the right reason for education to your child. Okay, so number 1 is, help your child build muscles for mistakes. Okay, help your child to build muscles for mistakes. Now, how are you going to do that? That should actually be number 2. Let me go to number 1. Let me go back to this. This is more important than your child building muscles. Okay, now, number 1 is, you actually need to work on yourself. Okay, you need to work on yourself, your beliefs around failure and mistakes, education, and all of that. So yes, as I said earlier on, the people who started this whole education system, the people who actually, have talked and have worked on putting what we call formal education together. Okay, the vision that they had is good, is solid, is great. So what you need to do is, you need to go back and look at different educational approaches. Go look at different educational approaches. Thank God for Google. Thank God for books. Go and look at what Montessori thinks about education. Go look at what Charlotte Mason thinks about education. Just go and type education approaches or approaches to education. You will see a lot of them. Okay, now look at the mindset behind them. Look at the principles behind them and use that to create your narrative of what you want education to be for your child. If you have been following me, you will know by now that I educate my children along 8 lines. Academic is just one of it. Okay, kingdom life and their understanding of spiritual things, ideology, their mindsets, all of that falls in this aspect for me. So yes, I am concerned about my child not having the mob mentality. I am concerned about my child not showing up on social media and responding to every topic that is talked about. I am concerned about my child not living a double standard. Oh, today divorce is good. Tomorrow, no, it is not good. And when it is another person, she should stay there. When it is your sister, she should go. That's how the society the society has lost its values over the years. Okay, we're struggling to build all of it back. We're struggling. That's why we're here every time talking to parents, because we understand that if we get it right in the family units, we will begin to make adjustments to what is happening in the society. So in the meantime, raise children who understand that there are all kinds of mentality out there. equip them, build your own narrative, make your children understand principles and have them begin to operate based on principles. So when they are in a gathering, they are not talking like every other person. Okay, so all of this falls in that area. Okay, spirituality, ideology, kingdom life, all of it falls here for me. Okay, that's one part. Academics is another part. My children understand that we are called to be excellent in everything that we do. So they know this, that for everything that you do, you put your best foot forward. So our children understand that knowledge is a powerful tool. They understand that knowledge is a powerful tool that will bring you to sit in the gatherings of kings and of princes. That they understand that they are kings, and a king does not go about empty. He goes about with knowledge, and he carries knowledge. So no, when they are in school, they give school 120% because they understand that there is only one way. Give it your best shot. So they understand that. So no, we don't play down academics. We make them understand that academic is a powerful tool, right? If you are a leader, and the knowledge that you carry will set you apart. So no, it's not just about biology and physics. It's about being a lifelong learner. It's about being a person who loves to learn, who enjoys learning. So no, they are reading books. They are reading books on all all kinds of books. They are reading. My son runs a group, the mastermind circle with other young children, right? And in that group, they set goals, and they work on their goals and all of that. Now, for this holiday, they are doing a challenge. They call it the KC Country Challenge. So they're learning about the countries of the world, learning, about facts about this country, and then as part of that challenge, they're supposed to watch the news for about 30 minutes every day, know the things that are happening in the world, and get the news based on what's happening on different countries, okay, at least 2 countries, and report that alongside the 5 countries that they learn about every day. Now, my son yesterday actually sat down and watched from CNN to CB, what's that other South African news. I saw him go from one news channel to the other for 2 hours yesterday. He sat down there. I didn't force him. I didn't make him. He sat down there with his journal, and he was watching the news. So sometimes it is how intentional you are as a parent. What structure have you put on ground? How are you engaging your children? Children naturally on their own will not gravitate towards certain things. It is the structure that you have in ground, the principles that you are operating on, that will align your children to certain things. And before you know it, your children will become interested. My son is 12-year-old, by the way. Your children will become interested in the things that ordinarily children will not be interested in. Why? Not because you force them, because of the principles that you are operating on. I promise you, parents, it is the same principles. The same principle that you operate on as parents is the same principle you can use to operate with your children. I'm not saying your children should do adult stuff. Just operate with principles and everything will fall in place. Okay? Everything will fall in place. So no, they enrich themselves with the right kind of content. It falls within excellence. Okay? It falls, he's 12 years old, Jenny is 12 years old, right? It falls within that frame. So if you know me, you also know that I do habit training as part of how I educate my children. Habit training is a big thing for us in our home. So we train those habits. You train your child on how to use the toilet deliberately. Deliberately. If you walk into my daughter's toilet that she uses, you will see the routine there, toilet routine. She knows that she comes in, she takes her toothbrush, she rinses it. It's like that, step by step. Don't worry, we do it like that. Step by step, take your toothbrush, apply the toothpaste, close the toothpaste, go that step by if you want to teach your children, teach them properly. As we said, mistakes and failures can only be recognized through training. So when you train and you practice, you will recognize mistakes and failures, and you're able to nip them in the bud, make correction, teach the children, right, the best way to go about it and all of that. And after that, you step back and you allow them lead their learning. So there is the place of training in learning. There is the place of training. So yeah, she knows to use her toothbrush to brush her teeth, to rinse it, to put it back. She knows to use the toilet, flush it, close the lid. She knows to use the toilet, step back from the bathtub and wipe the floor. So she knows before she goes into the bathroom, she will get her mop, she will get her slipper, and she will get her towel. She's 6 years old. So it doesn't start when she's 6. It started right from when she's 2. You go through this process over and over and over and over again until it becomes a habit. So yes, we do habit training as part of the way that we raise our children or we educate our children. We also do self-management. So self-management is an aspect. So we work with the children to manage themselves. We work with the children to become independent. If you can do it, then you don't need me to do it. So what would I do? We set structures and systems on ground. And this is the same thing I do with the mentor parents in our mentor parent support program. It's the same structure that I use at home that I use with the parents in the mentor parent support program. And whoa, our results from that program after 2 cohorts has been amazing. We're starting the next cohort in 2 weeks. At the end, first week of the last 2 days in April, we'll start the April cohorts for the next 4 months. It's the same principle. These things are principles. Just put principles in front of you. Follow the principles. Yeah, parenting is not easy. Parenting is not, it's a chore. Okay, the only way you can get it not to overwhelm you is to create structure on ground and then to stick to principles. It is those principles that makes you stop arguing with people who are talking crap. It is those principles that make you stand. I mean, even if 1,000 people around you are, do something different from what you do. It is the fact that you know you're sitting on principles that will make you become a confident parent. It's the same reason we see people who do not know God. We see people who do not, who are not religious or spiritual. You still see them become successful. That's because these people may not be spiritual, but these people understand principles. The same principles that scripture teaches us that we are ignoring. The same principles that scripture that the Bible continuously tells us and we refuse to adhere to. These people may not worship as you worship, but they take the principles and they apply the principles. If you apply principles, you will see results. It's as simple as that. Okay? We also raise the children around home management. So they are raised right from when they are infants and toddlers to be able to manage their home. They are. So these days, I don't clear my kitchen at night. I do not. I could sit down here and have a session at 7 and my son will do dinner, fix it, put food for everybody to eat. He's 12. And then afterwards, I am here and he will clear the kitchen and lock up for the night. It is part of education that your child is able to manage the space where they live, to manage the space where they find themselves. The reason our children go to be with people when they go to university or they travel or something, or you're not available and you send your children to be with people, even family, and after 2 days, people are just upset with the child because we don't bother with these things. And sometimes you will not even know that your children have gaps in this area. Why? Because you have so many people fixing everything for them. So you're just concerned with the fact that, oh, he's doing well in school. He's such a nice boy. He's so kind. He shares with everybody. He's so calm. He's so this and all of that. How about the skills that they need to thrive? How about the skills that they need to be successful? How about training them and allowing them try? How about allowing them practice so that you can see during training what their mistakes are, so that they can fail before you and you can help them self-correct and help them build muscles, basically. Okay, so I've talked about, so there are 8 of them. There's financial management, self-management, home management, kingdom life, what do you call it, leadership. Our children know that they are leaders. They were called to be leaders. So from when they were born, they were told they were leaders. So at every point in their life, they are leaders. So yes, they will manifest leadership at the level where they are. So my 6-year-old is manifesting leadership at her level. My 12-year-old is manifesting leadership at his level. When he is 15, he will be a leader at a different level. When he's 18, he will be a leader at a different level. It's part of our family values. They know this and they have it at their fingertips. They are leaders and they are called to lead, because leadership is one of our core educational value, that and it's part of one of the areas that we educate our children in. All right, so basically all of this, so very, very key, all of that. Right, I was just still on number 1, right? So yes, by the time your children, you're able to build this your own narrative based on what you understand that education is meant to be, based on what your values are as a person, right, or as a family. You're able to take your values, you're able to take what education is, you're able to take the vision that you have in your head of the adult that you're raising your child to be. You're able to put all of this together, then you will create a narrative that no school, no principal, no teacher, nobody can come and shift in your head, because you're rock solid. You know what you are doing. This is what we do with the Parents in the Mentor Parents program. We teach them to create their own narrative of what education should be. Not as I too know, because that's what we have all around. We have people who do not want to be taught anything about parenting, because, hey, they teach person about parenting. In fact, just the other day, my stylist actually asked me, like, I don't understand. You actually teach people how to be a parent, how to be parents, or how to parent their children. And it was funny. And I said to her, yes, as a matter of fact. By the time I finished with her, by the time I finished talking to her for 5 minutes, she was like this. She got it. She was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. She got it. Yes. So there are a lot of us who go about saying, did they teach you how to parent? Or did they teach you how? There's a lot we don't know about parenting. Yours truly, is still learning about parenting. Yours truly has parenting coaching. I have a parent coach. As it is, I am still learning at the feet of other people. I'm still learning, not necessarily even at the feet of other people. If you have any message, you that is watching me, if you have any message on parenting, I'll be there in your platform listening. There could be something for me there. If I get it, I grab it and I take it and I move. It is what it is. There's still so much. So no, we bring you up to become a confident parent, not as a parent who is posing like someone who knows too much. We bring you up to become confident based on the knowledge that you have. Go learn about the principles of education. Go learn about them. When you learn about the principles of education, create your picture of who you're raising. Add it to those principles. To the education principles of educational system and all of that. Then learn about principles, add all of this together. By the time you finish rolling this together, you will have created a narrative that nobody can shift in your head. So as I stand here, nobody shifts nothing when it comes to educating my children. Nothing. I can only learn and add more to it. But as per shifting my narrative, no, you can't shift it. So you can't come here and tell me, my child is doing so badly because she's not writing. There's certain things you can't even bring around me. Those who work with my children already know that. All right, beautiful. So that's what you want to do. So the next thing you want to do is you want to teach your child to build stamina. So you want to bring your child to the point where when they fail, you're able to say to them, what's the worst thing that can happen? So at the point your child, you notice that your child is afraid of exams, okay? You have that child. I was saying to one of the parents in the mentor parent program yesterday when she said, when her children are trying to fix puzzles, when they don't get it, they begin to cry. I said to her, good, it's good feedback. It simply means that your child does not know how to fail. It's good feedback. The child doesn't know how to fail. And it could be because you have made failure look so bad to the child. You have made the child think that when you fail, you'll be like the beggar on the road. Because sometimes, as I said, with our good intention, we still end up, creating the wrong mindset for our children, right? So if you are able to go back and look at all of these things, make your children understand, hey, hey, sweetie, you're not getting it. What can be the worst that can happen? Tell me, tell me, tell me. And then she looks at you and she's like, nothing. Then why are you crying? The worst that can happen is nothing. So you know something? We're going to do this together. All right, let's form a team. Mommy and you. Do you understand? Create a team. Okay. It could be 4 of us, daddy, mommy, and the 2 kids. And daddy, pair up with daddy, I pair up with mommy. I pair up with Ada, can't pair up with daddy. Let's go. And then we do it together and all of that. Let the children begin to build stamina, build muscle again. Build muscle that will allow them understand, and then you're able to support them to know how to go through mistakes, okay, and overcome those mistakes, go through mistakes, right, and deal with those mistakes rather than run away from the mistakes. The reason we're not creating in this part of the world, the reason why a lot of us are afraid of entrepreneurship, and the reason why we stay on jobs that we hate, jobs that are not fulfilling, is because we are afraid. And it's not our fault. That is how we were raised. We were raised to think that you need to go to school, you need to read the best subject and become a doctor. It is doctors that they pay well. A doctor will never go hungry. So because you need to do that, you need to be a doctor, you need to be a lawyer. Those people that they pay well, those people that, hey, they will always get a job. So meaning if you get a job, you will never be hungry. Fear. Everything is fear. In fact, I was so thrown aback when in recent times, I actually heard a father say to the child, you want to read so, 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 and so. What kind of job are you going to get with that? People still talk like that. My 12-year-old does not even see himself in a job. Not to say jobs are not right, but hey, my 12-year-old doesn't even see himself in a job. My 12-year-old sees himself as a creative, sees himself as someone that is creating solutions. Okay? So basically, if this person that sees himself as someone that's creating solutions that people will need, right? If he sees himself that way, it simply means that he's not going to be afraid to start up a business or start up, whatever it takes to run that solution that people will need. So meaning, even if he feels at ease, he can always go back to someone who needs that solution and work with that person. It's not that his end point or the only reason why he's doing anything in his life is so that he's able to get any job. Do you understand? So if at this point we are still bringing this kind of narrative to our children, no, you're doing them a disservice. Let your children understand that there are solutions. I say to my children, are you still sleeping? Wake up. Why are you sleeping at 7? Wake up. You have solutions that you bear. You have solutions that you carry. If you don't deliver it, if you don't master it, if you don't know how to lead, you don't know how to master this solution, the world is going to suffer because you will leave a vacuum. You were created, you were created to fill that vacuum, only you. So no, you can't go back to your maker without filling that vacuum. That's where God's judgment with you is going to start from. So no, you can't be telling your child you have to do jobs so that someone will take you in. You can't be telling your child you have to learn to cook, you have to learn so that someone will take you in. No, when you tell your children about marriage, empower them and say to them, you have to be you so that you have what it takes, so that you have what it takes to support your spouse, so that your spouse, when you look out, you look out for someone that has the same value system that align, that you can support each other. We were created, our purpose was not for us. Our purpose was for us to impact other people. So yes, at every point, you're not telling your children to do so that people can accommodate them. No, now, you can't be teaching your children that at this level or at this stage or at this point. You can't be intentional. Standing here with me and you're teaching your children this kind of thing. No way. Okay? No way. So you need to empower your children that much and help them build muscles. That's what you need to do as a parent. Very, very key. Okay. Number three, you need to allow your children take responsibility of their performances. So yes, when your child goes to school and those reports, they hand you that report. What I do when I go to school, I sit. Thank God for the children's school. So you would come to the conference with the kids to collect the reports. Okay, so I sit and the child sits. Okay, so when the report comes, I take the question paper and I hand the child the report card. That's what I do. I take the question because they would usually have the question paper in an envelope. So I would take the envelope with the question papers and I will hand the child the report card. That report is your own. So he's looking at it and I'm looking at the scripts. Okay, I'm going through the scripts. Okay, for instance, this term, I went through the scripts and I got to my son's chemistry. I got to chemistry and I saw something that wasn't him. I saw something that wasn't him, and immediately I stopped and I asked the teacher. I flipped and I'm like, he got this in chemistry? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, he can't. Ho-ha! I told her, I said, he can't. So I flipped and I flipped and I flipped. Guess what? It wasn't actually correct. There was actually a bit of a mistake right there. There was a bit of a mistake right there. His report is his report. Let your child take responsibility of its report. So I went and she looked at it and it was actually so there was actually some oversight and all of that because I know who my learner is and I know who I am parenting, basically. So when he's done, I turn and I say to him or say to my daughter, is that you? Does that report reflect you? And he goes, yes, mommy. Are you proud of yourself? Yes, mommy. I could have done better here. I could have done better there. Basically, let your child take responsibility of the report that is coming from school. Stop making children feel that they need to pass for you. Stop all that emotional blackmail. After everything I've done for you, you cannot even stay, you cannot do the right thing. So this is how you pay me back. How can someone do something for himself and you call it paying you back? So that is the reason our children think that they can do as they like because, hey, you are the one that he pains. It's not there. No, even my 6-year-old knows that she's going to school for herself. Even my 6-year-old knows that everything that comes from school, every report from school belongs to her. So no, I do not form. You've not seen me put my children's report here to come and form I'm a great parent. No, it's theirs. Totally so. Do you understand? Let them take responsibility. So let them take responsibilities for the performances, the poor ones, the good ones. Let them take responsibility for both of them. Okay? And no, don't go about shaming your children in front of their teachers or whoever is handing you. Look at you. This is what you could do. As a parent, there are no way. What are you trying to do? It's your ego that is worrying you at that point. You need to look good in front of the teacher. The teacher needs to know that you have done your best though. Look at me. Oh, my hands are up. Oh, I did everything though. It's the child. So you need to act up in front of the teacher. No way. Take your report, hold it to your chest. So me, I will go straight to the bottom of it. That part that says, he's kind, he does this, he knows how to, that is my report. Okay, that's where it tells me how far I am doing with the skills that I'm teaching the child. So for example, this term right there, everything was good for both my kids. But down there, they said, tidying their desk and organizing their stuff, both of them got low there, emerging, meaning they're still struggling with it. So yes, this holiday, we are working, we are tidying, we are learning to be organized, we are setting goals on organization. That's my feedback because I am the one teaching the skills. So if you want to think it's the school teaching the skills, then you're wrong. Your school is not going to teach your child empathy. The school is not going to have enough time. I'm not saying in their, hidden curriculum, they don't tend to take care of all of those things, especially if your children are in an amazing school like my children's school. But even at that, even at that, I am the one who will come back and break down empathy. I will break empathy down into steps of what we can do, different activities, things, step, training, what we can do in a period of 1 month to work on empathy. And this is what I do with the parents in the mentor parent program. We break down their goals and give them what to do daily. We have what to do daily towards achieving that goal. The school is not going to break down empathy every day towards your children. So they have it as a hidden curriculum somewhere for a grade school. But no, they can't break it down like you and focus on empathy as the challenge that your child has per time. Only you can do that. Are you struggling with things like this? Come join the Mentor Parent Support Program, and the rest will be history. We will support you, hold your hand, create those plans for you, and work with you through every challenge that you have with your kids. Okay, so basically, this is what you're doing. Let them own that challenge. Let them take responsibility for it. Okay, the next one is walk through each script together. So you have taken and you have said thank you to the teacher. You have appreciated the teacher and all of that. And then you go home. Give them 1 day, 2 days, a whole week if you like. Let them chill. Let them rest. Let them take a break. It's been a hard time. Okay, that's what you do when you take your leave. You come and chill. So let them chill, let them rest. It's been a hard time. Then after about number of 2 days, 1 week maybe, then you dust out those scripts and drop them and make a timetable or in your head, whatever. 1 day for 1 or 2 scripts. You go through each of them one by one. Parenting is not for the feeble-minded. Parenting is not for the lukewarm person. Parenting is not for, intentional parenting, basically. You must be ready to put in the time. You must be ready to put in the work for you to be effective as a parent. And sometimes this work could just be 10 minutes, 20 minutes. This thing I'm talking about could just be 10 minutes with each of your children. Okay? So with my 6-year-old, I take the math script and we go through it. Okay, basically, she's failed 6 or 7 or 10. So we go through each of them. Number 1, Roman figures, and I hand it to her and I tell her to look at it again and all of that. Chances are by the time you do that, you will find out that the child even knows it. It's just in examination condition that the child could not produce it. So what does it mean? The child knows it. So you know that mastery is not the issue. Okay, it's dealing with exam situations. So your focus helping that child is going to be how to deal with exam situation. So you're going to create pseudo exam situations in your home before exams. You're going to do it once in a month if you have to. You're going to do it at the end of every week where you set a few questions and you say, today we're doing exam practice, and the child will sit and you tell the child you have 40 minutes. Okay, then the child will go. Then you teach the child, when you finish, turn your pencil the other way, go through line after line after line, check your work a second time, dot your I's, cross your T. Parents, parenting is training. You are in front of the coach. You are steering it the way it should go. Principles. That's what parenting is about. So you do this with your child every week, at the end of every week, if you like, at the end of every month. The next time this child is sitting for exams, I promise you, you won't deal with the same issue, because mistakes or finding mistakes are best found through practice and what do you call it? Through practice and training. So you do that with the child. That way you are helping the child build that skill. That is what the issue is. Mastery is not the issue. The child knows it. So by the time you go through those scripts, you will find out that your children probably knew 8 out of those 10. You actually just doesn't know 2 of them maybe. Then you know concept is the issue. For the one that the child doesn't know, the child does not understand that concept. Maybe it's fraction, maybe it's whatever. That is where you will need to come in if you can teach them fraction. If you can't teach them fractions, that is when a lesson teacher or their teacher or whoever can give them extra assistance comes in for that area where the child needs support. Children do not need to go to school, learn from morning to evening, come home and be instructed again by another group of teachers and everything. You won't allow your children build stamina. You won't allow them build muscles for learning on their own. They are going to be dependent learners. Your children are supposed to be independent learners. So the people who support them are supposed to support them in specific areas to deal with specific needs. They're not supposed to have people support them every day. Okay, parents? They're not supposed to have people support them every day like that. All right, so we're almost out of time. Let me just round up so that we can run. And then the last one is create a strategy to deal with whatever challenges or gaps that you found. I've already started giving you giving you this. Okay, as I said, when you find that it's concept, so it could be concepts, it could be concept, it could be mastery, it could just be examination situation, right? It could just be the examination skill, sitting down for exams. It could be that skill that your child lacks. It could be that your child is active. Okay, your child, it could be attention span. Okay, so it could just be attention span. So your child gets bored in exams. So after like 10-20 minutes, the child is bored. So when you're able to find that, you find that that's the situation, you speak to the teacher. So even if it means the child taking a walk after, halfway in the exam, take a walk and then come back, it's because of you see, as I said, the principles behind the thing that the people who started this education thing, the vision they have, a lot of our schools don't have it. That's why a child will probably need to stand up and take a walk around for a few minutes and they will not understand it, because exam has turned to fight. Because education has turned to fight. Children are supposed to think of themselves as thieves. They're supposed to think of themselves as, because the society is so bad. The mess that we have made as parents, we have become very, we've become very insincere people, corruption, malpractices, all of these things has become our norm. So without knowing it, we have taken our norm and we're beginning to reflect it on our innocent children. So we put our 5-year-olds through exam and we make them feel as if they are thieves, or we make them feel as if they were born from the womb to be people who do examination malpractices. So that's how we set system in place that make them feel like people who on their, I don't know how to express this one. I'm sure you know where I'm going to. So basically, no, their minds don't work like this. We're the ones that are messed up. Is our narrative, and now we're reflecting it on these children already. All right. So when we're able to, so if it's the child that is not, that is usually, attention span is short. Okay, a reasonable teacher, a teacher who understands, we're able to relate, as I said, the school matters too. And you're able to say to them, his attention span could be an issue. And over, when I do this exam situation with the child at home, he gets it all right and he doesn't miss. So this is what I do. Could you just give him a few minutes to just walk around and then come back to his script afterwards? That could help him. The whole idea is to support our children to be successful, not take away the things that they need to be successful and force them to learn under certain standards. That's what we do in this part of the world. And this is why our learners do not become real learners or lovers of learning. That's why a lot of us do not love to learn. We just want to learn to pass exams. We want to learn to pass the promotion exams. So that's why all we do is we do the pass promotion exam so that we're promoted. So we have turned learning to what you get a prize for. So that's why learning is not attractive to our children. Learning is not attractive to the average, most of us on the average, because learning has to come with a present at the end. So when there is no present, when there's no promotion, right, to get afterwards, you're not learning, you're not reading, you're not studying. So basically, there is no love for learning. Okay, that's what happens. All right, so thank you very much. This brings us to the end of this session. I hope you've got value. If you have got value, please let us know in the comments that you got value from this session. I hope you've had some mindset shift during the session. Please, let's take the things that we have learned and go home and, apply it with our children. Our children deserve to be given the opportunity to learn and enjoy learning. Our children deserve to be given the opportunity to meet challenges that will challenge them enough, right, for them to see if they have gained mastery, for them to see if they have gaps in their learning. It is through those mistakes, those setbacks, those mistakes, those failures, and those poor performances that our children are able to make corrections, learn differently, do better, and then bounce back and become successful. So yes, the poor performance is your feedback, parents. Use them and help your children bounce back. Go and sit down and go through those reports and those scripts that came from school and see how you can empower your children and help your children bounce back. Okay, if you need, you need the mentor parent support program. I promise you, as a parent, you need support. Okay, our parents parented with the entire village. We still need to parent with our village. But the way it is, there are no villages, there are very few villages today. Our ideas, our values, principles are so different these days. So why don't you find a community of people who have the same mindset, a community of people who have the same value system with you, and connect with them? The Mentor Parent Program is a closed group where we help and support parents and hold their hands through their process. It is an amazing place to be. Okay, so if you would like to be a part of it, send us a message on our number that is in the group, or just simply write in the comments or send us a DM and say you would like to be a part of the Mentor Parent Program. It is not free, it is a paid program, but even the money that you pay is not anything. It doesn't even scratch the surface when it comes to the value that you get for this particular program. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for being here. Becky, I see you. I can see questions. I see some comments. Failure training is the key to raise well-rounded children. Absolutely, Becky. Thank you for being here. Thank you very much. If you're catching the replay, let us know that you were catching the replay on YouTube. You can drop your comments if you have any right here. We would attend to them. If you have any questions, you can say something. You can ask your questions and we'll attend to them. Thank you for joining us. Have a lovely Holy Week. Have a lovely Holy Week in preparation for Easter, and have a lovely rest of the day. My name is Maribel Chima. Super excited to be on your screen always, and I am blessed to be a part of your parenting journey. I do not take it for granted. Have a lovely day. Bye. Bye to you and bye to you. Did I go off on Facebook yet? Nope. We go off now. Boom.